You were defending, why the president took so long. But then people also ask, do you think that round pegs have been placed in round holes?
No, I believe we should move beyond this now. The pegs are there, the holes are there. So
it's important, isn't it?
Yeah. But it's no longer a theoretical question. It's a matter for people to see who is able to do what is asked to do competently or incompetently. Now it's go beyond speculating about is it the right peg for, a square peg for square hole. No, at the beginning that would be. But the point I want to focus on is that now what are the issues in the system that we got ourselves to a situation where everybody was contributing to rural poverty, and we found ourselves in a very dangerous vicious cycle. A nation whose consumption pattern has been so distorted by the few who have access to stolen money, such that everywhere you go in the country, you have imported tomato puree, you have toothpick, you have all sort of thing, expired rice from all over the world. And this government said, no, we will continue this way. Nigerians, we have to go through reorientation. But you don't learn to perfect consuming what you don't produce, particularly those things that you can actually produce. One example, tomato puree. When the CBN governor gives you the numbers, what we spend importing tomatoes, this is something every other Nigerian can grow in his backyard. Now, the price has gone up because in the course of placing restriction and encouraging local production, local producers have come in. They are now buying the tomatoes to process, and the price of tomatoes have gone up. If you ask me, yes, painful in the short run. In the long run, this is the way to go. Because I can tell you of a number of persons in Edo State who were living in Lagos, who have come back home to take advantage of the very high price of tomatoes to try to produce tomatoes behind their backyard.
They have farms now?
Yeah. And there has to be a time like so. You are going to see more people, rural people making more money. Now, rice has gone up. Okay? You have about 13 states in the northern part of Nigeria that are now producing rice. I had a conversation with some of them. This is not theoretical issues. The amount of rice being produced now is 3 times more than you were able to produce just 2 years ago. But in the short run, the price is going up. Now, the temptation is for government to try to dampen prices to allow a window for import. When you allow that, the prices come down. The incentive for local production disappears. We again get dependent on imported rice. So the way to go, which nations have done, price is a legitimate instrument to redirect activities in the economy. So if you want to sell produce rice because the price has gone up, every state in Nigeria is capable of producing rice. And people will go where they think they will make money. So if you are full of envy of the fact that few people producing rice, not importing, are making money, and more people goes into rice production, you will not in the long run only become self-sufficient in rice production, but you will reconcile your consumption to Nigeria-made rice. I traveled around when I was in the NLC, much more than I do now, including going to Japan. And I was surprised to see the kind of rice Japanese eat. Most Nigerians won't want to eat those rice, which they use for sushi. But rich as they are not going to allow you to import the long grain or beans from America. No, they're going to produce it in Japan. So if we are going to move away from a nation that has perfected the act of consuming precisely what it doesn't produce, but which is capable of producing, and we want our rural economy to improve, you've got to have to allow this price incentive to redirect investors properly to the agricultural sector. If you want quick fix solution, then you will have to put pressure, take more dollars, 1, 2, 3 billion give to rice importers, they will import rice, the price will crash, and we say, oh yeah, cost of living has come down. So it's a very delicate issue.
That's why the question I asked you about the right people is important. I recall that only recently, I think it was sometime last week, we had the CEO of Erisco Foods on our show, and he was complaining bitterly about how the president seems to be saying one thing and the people around the president seems to be doing another thing, and how difficult it was for him to be able to access capital, for his business to even be able to flourish ordinarily. He had issues with the agencies, he had issues with access to Forex, he had a number of issues that he says were, you know, frustrating a lot of manufacturers like himself.
Okay, now access to Forex, that itself is an issue. You know, you've got to try to understand that the private sector is not a committee of angels. You know, because I have been in that sector. I was a union leader in the textile sector. A sector that could produce and encourage through backward integration the production of cotton. But somehow, because of the ownership structure, a lot of our manufacturers prefer to import things they can produce here. In Edo State, for example, we have two categories of we have flourishing palm plantation. And you will find some of the people in this sector, you know, in two parts. I have a Nigerian who said to me, look, his other counterpart prefer a situation in which the federal government allowed them to import crude palm oil to process here. But he, as a Nigerian, believes that the palm tree can be planted here, and we have the land, we have the manpower, we have everything that the sector needs, and then process it as well. Now, if you talk to the guy who wants to take advantage of some import and engage in transfer pricing policies, which most multinationals are known for over the ages, then he's going to tell you that he's not getting Forex to import crude palm oil when you can produce it here. So the thing for a manufacturer to understand that nobody is going to be able to give you what you don't have. Now, if you allow a run on the reserve by just opening everything, just look at what we are consuming per month in terms of Forex in relation to what we are earning. Give it today's prices and the little quantity you are exporting as a result of variety of issues, including pipeline, vandalization, etc., etc. So the federal government is not going to give you the Forex you don't earn. The whole essence of moving away state involvement in the economy more towards private sector driven economy is that the private sector should also aim at structuring their production pattern in a way that over time they do not need to import all of the things they currently import. If you go through the list of what they think, what they classify as raw materials, a lot of these raw materials are things that can be produced at home.
I think at this point, just let me comment here, because if you look at all of those things that we have discussed, from the national perspective, a lot of Nigerians and even Edo people would be asking questions, more so now that it is just like almost a week to the elections in Edo State. They'll be asking, what is it you have put in place, even in terms of agriculture and so many other things that will make life easy for the Edo State people as they move towards another dispensation?
Yeah, that's fine. I think first is that Edo people understood clearly that the state government is not responsible and cannot be held responsible for national economic policy issues. We are not able to impede on prices. That is beyond us. We have no borders. Even if you produce tomatoes here, for example, it can be taken to another part of the country, which is the way it should be. I think the issues in Edo politics is that you've got two political parties that have governed, incidentally. So both parties are not new to the electorate. Between 1999 and November 12, 2008, you had PDP about 10 years. And people have good memories about whether or not they were pleased with the way in which PDP managed the state. And they easily can also reflect on what has happened between November 12, 2008 till date, a period of about 7 7 years and about 8 months and ask themselves the question, who has delivered us on the deliverables? Because the core issue for subnational government is to focus more on infrastructure. And we've done a lot of that. Now, across Edo South, Edo Central, Edo North, we have 18 local governments. In each of these local governments, for the very first time in the history of Midwest, Bendel, and now Edo State, no government before now can lay claim to having constructed standard roads across the 18 local government. We have done that. No, there is no local government you go to, you will find a standard road. They are not D3 roads. Just made them passable. Standard roads. We have delivered on water. Even in places that people felt there can be no water. We've delivered on education. We have restored integrity to public schools.
So in a place
and even at this time where many states claim that they have no money to invest in to pay catapult funding for UBEC. Yeah. Just 3 months ago, we raised 3 billion. And we are building, as we speak, over the past 4 months, we awarded contracts 192 new primary schools across Edo State. So now the result of all of this, let me finish. The result of all of this is that you are beginning to attract investors, because that is your question.